Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game So I got a fun and exciting video for you guys today, and honestly a fun and exciting video for me to make. That is because Valve is basically pushing forward a full court press into gaming, trying to take over every single category all at once. And if it's anything like the Steam Deck and its success, I think Valve might become the new king of gaming moving forward into 2026, because they have not one, not two, but three new pieces of hardware announced as of today, and honestly I'm excited for each and every one of them, and I will definitely buy at least two for videos as well as for my own personal enjoyment. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. But honestly, the big news of the day is Valve has a new Steam machine out. And honestly, I think this is a really good thing, because just recently I was reviewing the ROG Xbox Ally and said that I didn't understand the product as far as who it was for. And it really does kind of feel like Microsoft is abandoning Xbox in some ways. Anything can be an Xbox, so what does it matter what you actually play your games on? I know they're trying to be a little bit kitschy and say you can bring Xbox anywhere, but on the flip side of the coin, it kind of feels like Microsoft is saying Xbox really doesn't matter. And with all of the products Valve has today, they're basically taking on Microsoft and Xbox, Sony with the PlayStation 5, and even Meta with the Quest 3 as far as what they're offering is concerned. And with me not really loving the ROG Xbox Ally, I am excited to have more products from Valve. And the number one thing and the number one takeaway, which should be obvious but I will state, is going to be running SteamOS. And because that is such a gaming focused OS with such a low overhead, it really does leave a lot of power on the table as far as actually running the games are concerned. Because right now Windows 11 absolutely a bloat mess. You even get a light strip on the front if that's something you like, only mentioning it because it kind of reminds me about the Wii and the Wii U disc slots when they had those update notifications. But again, this thing being full Linux based, I think is going to be a big advantage, because recently with the help of Andy D, I've been talking about a lot of Linux games on the channel, both native as well as emulation. And honestly, with a lot of the different Linux distros out there, SteamOS included, you just get better performance on the same spec that you would get if you're over on Windows 10 or 11, and that is a big deal. And don't just think that I would be talking about the new Steam machine from some sort of emulation perspective, but trust me, definitely picking this one up, have a lot of good ideas for videos, just like I did like over 100 different Steam Deck videos talking about emulation and other fun things. And as far as the I/O is concerned, exactly what you need, nothing more, nothing less. Interesting that there is a micro SD card slot on the front, but big credit for putting DisplayPort here. In my office, my monitor DisplayPort, HDMI for my 4K TV in the OLED living room. I love what they've done here, giving you just enough I/O to do anything you want, but not getting so ridiculous that they jam too many ports on there and you're wondering who's going to use them all at once, because this thing should look pretty elegant in a living room. Now, as far as the specs are concerned, you get a semi-custom AMD Zen 4 architecture with a 6-core and 12-thread count up to 4.8 GHz, and you get a semi-custom AMD RNDA 3 with 28 compute units. And honestly, the one thing about that I would have loved to have seen a little more of is having 16 GB of VRAM on the GPU side of things. But Valve stated that this was basically a cost measure to make sure this thing wasn't too expensive, so hopefully that means it's going to come in at a really nice price. We'll just have to wait and see how that 8 GB of VRAM does. And 4K up to 240 Hz or 8K at 60 Hz, 10 out of 10 love it, 10 out of 10 can't wait to check it out honestly. And the reality is, if this thing is anything like the Steam Deck, even though obviously it isn't a portable handheld, I think we're really in for a treat in 2026. I have loved my Steam Deck since the first day I opened it up. I've made over 100 videos teaching you guys how to do things, and I plan on doing the exact same thing when the new Steam machine comes out. And I actually had one of the original Steam machines, definitely a fun idea, but the ecosystem was very fractured with a ton of different specs. But Valve has played this one very intelligently, because there is only one SKU for the actual new Steam machine. Technically two if you get a 512 GB versus 2 TB hard drive inside, but the overall CPU, GPU, and RAM are going to be identical, which really means to me there's only one model. Hard drives don't really change the SKUs as far as I'm concerned. And honestly, I think that's going to be really smart, because the number one thing that caused the original Steam machine to fail was just having way too many models from way too many manufacturers. But on the controller front, there is a brand new Steam controller coming out, and I'm very excited about this, because honestly the original Steam controller had a lot of good ideas, but it didn't really always work out, compared to something like the Steam Deck where they took that concept and put it into an actual handheld 10 out of 10, love it every day of the week and twice on Sunday. When I was talking about the ROG Ally, I said the one thing I missed more so than anything else was the trackpad, that kind of tactile rumble to it, being able to have a mouse there, being able to have two in fact, which is something that the Steam Deck absolutely killed. The idea that we're going to get a brand new controller with that same concept, I absolutely can't wait to check it out. And even on the small kind of mechanical engineering side of things, the fact that the charging dock is in fact also the Bluetooth transmitter there, I just love something like that. And we're getting Hall effect sticks, so you won't have to worry about any sort of stick drift in the future. And it looks like it's even going to be potentially user replaceable, which I think is a very smart move. Kind of looks like a breakout board there. And also grip enabled gyro. I love using that in some of the arcade-like gun games I emulate on Steam Deck, being able to move the mouse around by basically moving around the Steam Deck itself. But getting those trackpads again, I absolutely love them. I can't live without them now. But you leave me a comment down below and you tell me, trackpads on the Steam Deck, do you use them all the time or do you ignore them? It is one of those things Valve has definitely been learning over years just how much they can do and how much of an ecosystem they can build. And the number one surprise of the day, and I honestly haven't been paying too much attention to rumors of this, is the new Steam Frame. It is a brand new VR headset from Valve, and obviously they were one of the people at the forefront of making VR a thing again, with the original HTC Vive being made in conjunction with Valve. And I bought that thing day one and absolutely loved it. I did not think that Valve was going to be releasing a headset that also was basically an entire PC inside of the headset, a la Quest 2 or Quest 3. And even though you don't see me talk about it on the channel just because it's not what I like to talk about in videos, I absolutely love VR gaming. I have PlayStation VR 1 and 2, Quest 2 and 3, as well as the HTC headset, and I use them pretty regularly outside of the fact that once the radiators turn on in winter, it's too damn hot to actually check them out. So the idea that Valve is going to be launching another headset, 10 out of 10 love it again, and it is going to be wireless as well, something I do with my Quest 3 in the same room as the router, and it honestly works out really well. So I can't wait to see how Valve's implementation of that goes. We're even going to get something called foveated streaming, which I've never heard of before. I know how it works, at least in concept, but we'll talk about that more when this headset comes out if I pick one up. And you're going to be getting pancake lenses as well, not for now lenses. I know there's some debate as to what you like and don't like, but honestly, no complaints there. And like I said earlier, it seems like Valve is going after Microsoft and the Xbox Meta with the Quest series and also PlayStation VR as well, because this just isn't a headset that's going to hook into something like the Steam Machine, even though it can. It has that 4nm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 architecture and 16GB of unified RAM. It is a whole, basically mini PC within the headset, just like you see on the Quest lineup, and you're going to be able to pair that with Steam OS and your Steam library as well. That is just legit 10 out of 10. Straight up making me so happy. Basically what Valve is saying here is we have you covered from start to finish. If you want a console-like experience, we have the Steam Machine. If you want console-like VR, not only do we have something that's like the Quest lineup, but also something you can plug into that Steam Machine. And if you need a controller, we have a brand new Steam controller as well. And of course you can use your mouse and keyboard because it is just a PC, something that the consoles do not allow for the same ease of use on. And this is just one of those things Valve knows they have an in here. Microsoft is waffling in the entire console space. PlayStation 5 has been fun, but really not inspiring, at least in my opinion. And even though most people hate Nintendo's lawsuits, the Switch 2 probably has the most innovative games of this actual generation. And again, I have PSVR 2. I do enjoy using it, but damn it, Sony basically pretends this thing doesn't exist sometimes. I even bought the box so I could hook it up to my PC just to get some more gaming out of it. I really wish Sony would either decide to completely abandon VR or completely support it, not introduce hardware and then pretend they never actually did it. But this is just exciting moving forward. Valve definitely has a good idea, and it all goes back to the original Steam Machine and the Steam controller. They weren't really successful, but Valve is very intelligent about learning from failures. Every time they fail, they learn something new, and that's why you got something like the Steam Deck. It was kind of a Steam Machine built into the same form factor as a Steam controller, even though the original controller and Steam Machine were not successes in any way, shape, or form. And now think of everything Valve has learned selling the Steam Deck for like the last 3.5 years, and now they're introducing all that concept into what they're calling a new Steam Machine, which is basically either a super small desktop computer or kind of a boxy Xbox Series X shaped console. that is just a future I'm really looking forward to, because again, I always have ideas in my head as to what I can do, and even the most recent Xbox handheld, the best way to use it was with Steam OS. But it's one of those things, this is either going to be super exciting or maybe you won't be into it, but for me personally, having played around with a lot of the other hardware that's currently being offered, the deck was so good, I can't wait to play with the Steam machine. But you leave me a comment down below and tell me, day one purchase or going to completely skip it. But I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye bye.